Dr. Vanita Rattan, and this channel is dedicated to skincare for skin of color. So I get asked all the time, why is skin of color different? What is skin of color? Am I skin of color? So skin of color, the definition is if you are more likely to tan rather than burn in the sun, then you're classed as skin of color. And the reason being that your melanocytes are larger. Those are cells that produce the pigment melanin. So those cells are easier to trigger and get pigmentation. So for example, with Caucasian skin, you can literally burn the top layer of skin off and the skin will grow back fine. Whereas with skin of color, when we get one bite, one burn, we hyperpigment. And that's why we have to be so careful with what we do with our skin. So this video is all about treating razor bumps, because when we have, again, any inflammation, whether it's from a razor bump, then it leads to pigmentation. Often it's a pigmentation that people are more concerned with than anything else. So if you haven't subscribed and hit that notification bell yet, make sure you do it now, because I'm always in the comment section for 1 hour at the launch of every video. So let's dive right in. So what are these razor bumps? So they can happen after shaving, waxing, or plucking. And the term is pseudofolliculitis barbae. So you can even Google it if you want to go into more depth. A study was shown that actually this affects 60% of men. So it's a huge percentage of the world's population, and it tends to affect you more if you've got curly, coarse hair. So what's actually happening with the skin? So two things actually can take place. When the hair grows out and then back in, curls back into the skin cells can start to grow around that hair, and that then leads to a bump, which becomes very irritating. So that's one thing that can happen. The other thing that can happen is you can have actual inflammation of the hair follicle with Staphylococcus aureus, and that is also very irritating. So who's affected? So studies have shown that it's mainly African males that are affected, and also you're more affected if you use a blade over an electric razor. So what happens is it tends to actually happen more under the jawline, because hair tends to grow in different directions. It feels like itchy, tender bumps, and actually when you shave, it can lead to pus, discharge, blood. So those are things that you tend to experience. Now in skin of color, this is actually a worse situation, because when you have that inflammation that's already taking place, you have cytokines that are released. Cytokines are basically a soup of inflammatory mediators. What these do are stimulate the melanocyte, the cells that produce the pigment melanin, to produce more pigment. And so now you end up with a situation where not only do you have the razor bump, but you've also got pigmentation too. So what I'm going to do is a step-by-step routine with what you should do with your skin. So the first thing I would recommend is purchasing yourself a salicylic acid wash with about 2% in it, because what you want to do is to exfoliate dead skin cells in order to loosen any hair that's trapped in those skin cells. So remember, the hair curls out back into the skin and then the skin grows around it. We want to actually exfoliate to loosen that hair around the hair, around the tip of the hair shaft. So the one I quite like is the ordinary 2% salicylic mask. I don't like the liquid one because it's got witch hazel in it. I like the mask. It's the one I actually wear for my own face. Now, if the ingrown hair is visible and reachable, then I would use sterilized tweezers. So even with alcohol, rub is fine, in order to pluck the hair out. But here's a caveat. If you cannot reach it easily, leave it alone, because the worst thing you can do at this point is to pick at the skin, because it will pigment. So be very careful about that method. If you can reach it easily, then fine, but if you can't, then avoid. I would soften the skin and the hair by using a pre-shave oil, because what that does is it basically hydrates and conditions the hair so that you don't have that coarse end that would happen after you've shaved. So you do that first. I would then use a shaving foam and I would use that across the whole face actually, so even on the skin that doesn't have hair on it. When you shave, I would recommend either using a single blade or an electric shaver, because then you don't get such a short shave. you actually want to be left with a 5 o'clock shadow after you shaved, and you want to shave in the direction of the hair growth. Okay, so if your hair is growing downwards, then you shave with the hair growth, not against the hair growth. And don't forget, this is where the issue happens actually, is on the chin and the neck area, where hair is just got a mind of its own and it's going in all different directions. You need to follow the hair growth. So whichever direction is going in, you need to shave with the hair growth. Please do download your free guide to Skin of Color. It's in the comment section, in the description box below. If there's any questions that you've got for me, please, when you subscribe, hit that notification bell, because I'm in the comment section for 1 hour at the launch of every video, and I try and release 5 videos a week from Sunday to Thursday, and so I want to be there to answer you live. If there's any brands you want me to review, or any skincare conditions or hair care conditions that you want me to discuss, please can you write them down below, because I just keep adding them to my to-do list, so that I'm always ready with all the content that you want to see. Thank you very much for watching.